Hi there. Nice to meet you in sunny Australia. Do you want to start by introducing yourself?
Yeah, it's good to meet you too. Yeah, so I'm Ayla, I'm 16. I'm a climate activist and I just did an action with Blockade Australia where I jumped on top of a coal train with my friend Cowper and blocked it for four and a
Brilliant.
half hours and was up there for 4.5 hours but blocked the train line for six, which is
Yeah,
pretty cool.
I've just
Yeah.
heard that story from your friend. She literally was the last person to come on the show.
Yeah,
I was on with her literally yesterday.
cool. Yeah,
So,
she's really great. I love her a
what was
lot.
that experience? What was that experience like for you then?
Um, oh, I found it pretty powerful. It's my first time doing direct action where I got arrested, which was, pretty scary, but also really good and fun. And yeah, I felt pretty good up there, and yeah, it felt pretty cool to be able to do that, and yeah, be able to have the resources to do that,
Yeah. Was it
which was fun.
scary? Must have been, was it scary going into when you first started to consider doing something like that?
Um, yeah, I'd been thinking about it for a year or two because I'd hung around some people for that long. I've been doing direct action not direct action. I've been going to protests and stuff basically my whole life, which means that I was pretty comfortable in those spaces. And yeah, I was very nervous beforehand, just really scared about what was going to happen. But then once I got up on the train, it just felt very calm. I watched the sunrise, and yeah, it felt really nice once I was up there. But I was very
Yeah.
nervous beforehand, and
That's
yeah,
that's usually
quite
the case when
scared.
you do actions. You feel really nervous before you do it, and then you get the calm whilst you're doing it.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it was an interesting experience for me. Definitely.
Can I ask you? So you said you've been
But yeah.
protesting, going to protests your whole life. Like, how old was you when you went to your first protest? Roughly.
Um, like I don't really remember. My mum and dad have been kind of involved in stuff just by attending. I think the first memory is probably when I went down the south. I used to live down the south coast of Australia, and there's been a lot of logging down there. And I think the first memory is being at an anti-logging protest on the side of the road and wearing the owl suit that
Hmm.
they had to protect the native owls down there. But I've also been going to like um, Invasion Day rallies my whole life as well. That's a tradition
What's
that we
that?
do in my family, is to go and support that. So on Australia Day, there's a lot of protests because First Nations people have not got they've had a pretty horrible history in Australia, and we still celebrate Australia as like yeah, we still there's a lot of white people celebrating Australia and celebrating white Australia, and not acknowledging that Aboriginal people have been on this land and looked after it before colonisation and done their best to look after it after as well. And yeah, just a lot of genocide has
Yeah.
happened in Australia, and um, yeah, Invasion Day is kind of acknowledging that it's a very sad day because it's on the day of when the first fleet came to Australia and started
Yeah, I feel
colonisation.
that. I can understand.
Yeah.
I can understand where you're coming from because I like learning about history myself, to be honest. And the British Empire was
Yeah.
pretty brutal to the majority of its subjects. Like they were, it wasn't just happening in Australia; it was happening all through
Mm.
Africa as well. We were like, we're just when we built the British
Yeah.
Empire, we didn't just give us all that land. We went in there and murdered a whole bunch of people and enslaved a whole bunch of people. Like,
Yeah.
um, I've got
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'm not going to mention actually, but I've got a distant relative who's very proud of like Britain and British, like, and I've been very keen to like call her out on that. That kind of goes to what you were saying.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people in Australia that kind of have the view of like, well, I didn't do it, like I didn't colonize this country, so it's therefore not my responsibility, when in fact it kind of is, because it's your ancestors that did the colonization and
Well,
like helped in the massacres of First Nation people.
I mean, how are they supposed to undo the sins of their ancestors?
Oh, I reckon just like acknowledging that there is there has been genocide. There is like a lot of like really horrible things that have happened to First Nations people since colonization, and like just acknowledging that and showing up to support those people, and just like, I don't know, just acknowledging that even though it wasn't you directly, you still, your family history still played a part in that.
Yeah. Can I talk about acknowledging, right? One of the things I've realised the last year is about, they talk about privileges, right? Like white privilege, male privilege. I've realised I've got them all. I don't want to I've realised as activists I need to use those for the best. You know what I mean? I've done quite a lot of protests and quite a lot of arrestable action. But you think, if you was a person who was black or brown, then the police might not treat you as nicely as they would somebody who was white. We all know like there's systemic racism in the police force, and same if you're a woman as well. Like a big scary police officer coming to put you in handcuffs is much more of a so I just talking about like privileges, and that's something I've noticed. I've recognised within myself, to be honest. That I've got them. So it's about, you mean?
Yeah, I mean that's like part of why I took the action was because I have the privilege to do so, and like being in a female body and being in a white body, it means that like I will like most likely be treated nicer by the police, and doing that action, I wasn't scared to be killed. Like the worst that would happen is that like they use torture techniques on me, which isn't that bad, like in the scheme of things. And like I guess that's part of why I took the action, was that I have the privilege to do so.
Yeah. So, was this your first ever arrestable action then?
Yeah, I mean, I've been like going to protest my whole life, and like I have done a lot of like been to protests over the last year. I've been going more, but like this was my first time getting arrested ever,
a few minutes ago you said you were afraid if you did you say you were afraid if you were gonna die, like on that protest? That's that's quite a deep place to get to. Like
I also
go on, carry on.
Yeah. Sorry. I think I'm lagging a bit. I think that's why like I took this action. Also, like I'm not an adult, which means that they'll probably treat me nicer as well. And like I wasn't scared to go to jail because I knew that was pretty unlikely. Like the age of incarceration here is 10 years old, and we've like a lot of First Nations kids get put in jail for like really stupid reasons, just because like the system we're living in is quite racist. Like the system we're living in was built on colonization in Australia, and like I wasn't scared to have that that like brutality put against me, because I have a lot of privilege being white and female, and
can I ask a bit about your motivations, right? So, the coal train. What is it? What kind of changes do you think you want to see? Like, what reasons are you? What reasons are you going for your protest? Like, what personally for you?
Like, personally, I think it's just like quite a powerful thing to do. Stopping a coal train, like, obviously coal is bad, but that, like, one of the reasons why I'm involved in Blockade Australia is because it's focuses on economic bottlenecks and, like, acknowledges that even if we, like, stopped coal or stopped plastic, then, like, we'd still have the giant issue of climate change, and I mean, like, we'd still have other issues in the system that would keep going. And, like, I resonate with that a lot, just, like, being in school, like, in the school system, and, like, seeing, like, a lot of teachers being overworked and stuff, and, you know, just, like, living life and seeing that it's not actually, like, the government isn't actually helping people as much as they should, and they're just focused on money, and, like, it's the same with the big corporations. And so I guess, like, choosing Newcastle Coal Port was, like, easy to understand why we're doing it, because, like, a lot of people understand that coal is bad. But yeah, I also did it because, like, the whole system is basically just hurtling us towards ecological collapse and social collapse as well. And, you know, may as well try and stop that in some way. It's my kind of
Well, yeah, it's quite close to home, that as well, because I'm trying to stop this massive collapse from happening as well. I think that's why we're all taking action, really.
Yeah, like, yeah, there's a lot of different groups that are just working towards the same thing, and I think that's pretty cool to have happen, because, you know, we all are trying different tactics and seeing whatever works for us and trying to do those things. But yeah.
I've now decided I want to build this podcast and create, like, a network between all the different people in all the different countries and get them all on the show.
Yeah, that's super cool. I love it. I love the idea. Like, I love hearing about activists and their stories and what their experiences have been. And yeah, I think it's super cool that you're doing this.
It's so easy. It's so easy as well, you know. It's like I've just been doing it with, like, phones and laptops. It's been pretty fun.
Yeah.
So, I know the Australian government, they're a lot harsher. They can be a lot harsher with you guys. Are you currently on bail for your action?
Yeah, I'm actually not supposed to be on bail. Apparently, I talked to my lawyer and they did something wrong there. They try not to put kids on bail, apparently. But yes, I'm on bail. I'm not allowed in Newcastle region. I'm not allowed within a kilometre of a port, and I'm not allowed on a rail corridor without a ticket. So yeah, not as harsh as, like, some bail conditions that I've seen. I've had a few people from Blockade Australia stay at my house on bail, and they've had way harsher bail conditions. And, like, just a lot of my friends have had way harsher bail conditions, so I think I'm pretty lucky in the sense that I, like, don't have to report and aren't under house arrest or anything like that.
So what things have you seen in your life then? Like, what effects have happened? Sorry, what effects have there been on your life since doing this action then?
I actually have been quite okay. I, like, got out of the watch house and came straight home because I wasn't allowed in that area. And then I just went to school the next day, and it was the last day of school. And now I'm just on school holidays and working, and just, yeah, back into my kind of normal life without
Do you
activism,
think?
which is pretty cool, I
Do you think you'll
reckon.
take action again with Blockade Australia?
I'm not sure. I think, like, I reckon I'm not going to get arrested for a little while, because I don't know, I just have, just need a little bit of a break. I'm definitely still going to be involved however I can, but, I don't want to break my bail conditions or, like, I'm only on bail till next month, but I'm going to play it safe for a little while, go to school and live a bit of a normal life for a little bit.
Yeah, it's a good idea, really. I think
Yeah.
I've been thinking more about. I talked about this with your friend. Adaptation. I think we need to, put some serious money into adapting our societies to be able to handle, the effects of climate change as to become stronger. Like,
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
what's the do you get droughts over in Australia? You ever get droughts over there? I know it's a pretty hot country.
Yeah, we've had it's like been so strange, and I like kind of just remembered this the other day, but we had like this whole few years of droughts, and then we had the really extreme 2019 bushfires that a lot of us were affected by, and then it just like we had a bunch of floods after that, and that was like floods that the government was saying is like only in 100 years, and they were happening like every week or every 2 weeks, and it was just like, we've had a lot of extreme weather events recently in this continent, and it's been pretty scary.
Yeah, I can only imagine. We've been seeing the same in the UK. Really, we've been seeing massive heat waves, and last summer we had 40 degrees. We had a 40 degrees heat wave in the UK, and I was in prison at the time. I'd just basically gone to prison, and I was in court, for climate activism, and it was literally 40 degrees outside for the first time in like UK history. It was kind of ironic, really.
Yeah, I mean, sorry. I was just going to say, I think that, like, the UK is really cool in its activism. I think that, like, there's a lot more people willing to take direct action in a way. Like, I've followed Just Stop Oil on Instagram and stuff, and it feels like there's a lot of people taking direct action, whereas in this continent there's, like, less of a, less of a momentum to take direct action.
How do you guys recruit people? Like, we do talks over here.
We do talks sometimes. It's like quite hard because we tried to do an open mobilisation for Sydney, and we got raided and stuff, which was hard. So like, it was very scary for me. I wasn't there when it was happening, but I was there like half an hour before it happened, and quite scary.
So what we're doing in the UK is we'll book a venue for a talk, and we'll go out like 5,000 leaflets, and we'll hand them out in the streets, or put them through letterboxes up, and put posters up as well, advertising the date and time. And sometimes the police do turn up, but they literally it's a bunch of members of the public coming in to like 3 or 4 people from Just Stop Oil to deliver this talk and take contact details if people want to help us. Was that something similar you were doing in Australia?
That's kind of what we do. We like do info talks, but also like, we're a grassroots network. So, we kind of also just see people who want to do direct action and meet them and be like, hey, there's this group if you want to come and join us, like that kind of thing as well. But yeah, we definitely do info talks. I just was on an online one the other day. I think it was last week, and yeah, it was pretty cool. There was a few people there that were interested.
Fair enough. Like, I think the way we've managed to get people in the UK is obviously we started with Insulate Britain, and then after we finished with Insulate Britain, we kind of like go from like action phase to recruitment phase, action phase, recruitment. So like people who are taking action will then go into like leafleting and recruiting and putting on talks and getting more people to sign up, and then we're going to action phase and get a lot of publicity and a lot of like targeting like football matches and snooker matches and all rugby matches. They've been all over the news. Just to point, they've been dominating it recently. But so then,
Yeah.
yeah. Is there anything There's no real script for these podcasts. So is there anything that you would like to talk about on the show? Whilst we've got what time?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I think that like what you were saying about just stop oil is super cool. I think that in Australia it's hard, especially with Blockade Australia, because in the media we've been painted as this like really scary radical group that like tries to stop everything and just like painted as very dangerous criminals and stuff. Like I had a news article with my face on it that was like, these clowns and they're dangerous, and I was like, well, I'd like in my statement of facts it's like just saying that we were going to kill ourselves or something. And like I think that it's definitely scary, but it's done in a really safe way. So yeah, I think it's pretty hard to recruit people when you've got all this stuff about how you're like a super like scary group as well.
Well, maybe it's in the name,
So, yeah.
because like I don't know, Just Stop Oil is it's obviously got the oil in the name. Do you know what I mean? It's something to do with oil. Like Blockade Australia, it just sounds like you're attacking Australia.
Yeah, I think that like that's probably a bit of it. But like I guess in a way, like Blockade Australia is against the system that we're living in, which is the Australian system that isn't working. And yeah, I guess it's probably a bit scary for people.
What kind of system do you think we should have in the future to sort this out? And we're back. Sorry about that. Bit of a tech issue. You were saying?
That's all right. I don't think that I should be the one to decide how this system in the future runs. I think that, I know that it's not working right now. I think that if we want to create a livable future, we need to be like focusing on people and focusing on what First Nations people have to say, because they like know how to take care of their land. And yeah, I don't know. I think that it's very hard to design a future that like just on your own and like decide what's going to be a good future. I think personally, I reckon that like living in communities and not living under capitalism would be pretty good. But yeah, I think that that's a really hard question because, it's like one person deciding what future everyone's going to have. But yeah, I don't know. It's a good question though, but it's a very hard one to answer.
Yeah, isn't it? So I ask that question quite a lot on this podcast. Don't worry about it. I'm looking for solutions and ideas that I've not heard before.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I don't know. I think just like living in communities, living off the land, trying to harm, like looking after it, and yeah, just having a a future where we look after people and we look after animals and the land, and yeah, just that kind of
You know what?
idea.
You just said exactly. You just said exactly the thing that I would say. Like, to change the whole world, I would prioritize people and nature.
Yeah.
You just said that basically word for word. So.
Well, I mean, that's it. Like, how are you gonna, like, I mean, that's what we're fighting for. We're fighting for, like, to be able to live in harmony with the land, and to be able to, like, live on this planet without it basically dying, and without us having to die as well. So, yeah.
Yeah. So when did you first you must be like aware of the climate crisis then, of this kind of action and it's to do with this kind of stuff. When did you first become aware of, say, like the feedback loops in the climate crisis and
I mean,
how bad the severity of it?
I think I've always kind of known that things were bad. Like, I remember being in the droughts, and my dad's house almost got burnt down in the 2019 bushfires. Like, I was watching the app, and it was like halfway across his house, and I was like, well, that's my childhood home gone. But luckily a neighbour saved
Wow.
it. But yeah, no, I think that I've just always kind of been aware. I think that I didn't know quite what to do or how to do it until I met, like, Blockade Australia, and then I was like, wow, that, like, makes a lot of sense. And, like, I guess that's what I've been feeling this whole time. But yeah, I guess before that I just felt quite, like, I don't know, I couldn't do anything, and, like, just quite depressed about the whole thing. Like, I think a lot of my generation is just kind of like, well, what's the point? We're all dying anyway, like, the world's fucked kind of thing. And I think, like, I was definitely in that headspace, and then I saw these people doing really cool things, like using their body to stop a whole, like, coal train, like a whole coal line, and I just thought that was really powerful, and was like, wow, that's, like, kind of what I've been looking for. So yeah, like, I have this poem that I've written, and it's, like, got this line in it that's like, I was born when the ice caps were already melting, and I think that says a lot. Like,
do you have the poem to hand?
Yeah, I do. I can read it to you if you want. I'll just... It's on my phone. It's on my live stream as well.
Nice.
I read it out there. I'll just find it. There we go. Do you feel scared right now? We've all heard the horrific stories. 150 species go extinct every day. And I was born when the ice caps were already melting. I was brought up in a world fueled by climate chaos, and it was my generation's responsibility to fix it. But when I ask for your help, will you listen, or will you switch on whatever show you're watching next, and then throw me away and call me a dark hole that's too negative? And when I scream as loud as the wind and act as fierce as the fire that filled our lungs with ash when I was 11, will you tell me that I'm ruining my future, or being too loud? Or will you tell me that I'm too young to understand the complexities of this world? And when I act out of fear, out of the understanding that I'm not going to have a future, will you pat me on the back and tell me that we need more young people to do the same, and then go back to work your 9 to 5 and trust that someone else will figure it all out as you fail your children again and again, as you enjoy your comfy life that I will never be able to afford? And will you act when your house fills with floodwater, or when the sun is so unbearable that it stings? And will you act when they start mining and burning fossil fuels? And when the world around you starts to crumble and everything starts to decompose, then will you get off your couch, or will you sit by and watch the world break from your television screen? Yes, that is my poem.
That is incredible.
Thanks.
Oh, wow, that was really good.
Thank you.
No, honestly, that was awesome. Like, I might snip that bit out later, and send it to you in a short video because
Yeah, sure.
that's pretty good, yeah. And it
Um,
was really deep as well. Like,
yeah, it was written like a week before I was doing my action, or like 2 weeks, and I was like, why am I doing this? And kind of like frustrated at a lot of adults around me, like not knowing what I was about to do. But like I've had a lot of people just tell me not to get arrested, or like, you know, I'm too young to do this, and like, a lot of people doing that. And yeah, I was very frustrated, and so I just kind of wrote it, and yeah, that's how it came to be.
it's brilliant. Have you written anything else?
Yeah, I've got a few other poems that I've written um, about the climate, like crisis and stuff like that. Um, yeah, that are around.
Do you feel comfortable sharing them?
Yeah, I can. Um, I've got
You
one.
don't do. There's no pressure, by the way.
No,
If you don't feel like
like
you're
it's fine. I've got a few. I'll read you a short one, and then I'll read you one that I wrote, kind of just because. But the first one, this is one of the first ones that I've written, and yeah. Can you hear the earth gasping for air? Can you see her tears? Can you feel her fever? Can you smell her rotting? Are you even listening? Do you even care? As she is gasping, I am screaming. As she is crying, I am drowning. As she has a fever, I am burning. As she is rotting, I'm barely surviving. I will make you listen. I will keep fighting. I can't die knowing that she is dying. That's that one. Um,
Oh wow, these are really good. One thing,
thanks.
do you know what makes me think before you start the next one, um, is one of the things I was thinking in my mind when I was taking my action, is I refuse to stand aside.
Yeah.
You know what you were saying about all the other people who say, well, the world's burning anyway, we might as well, It's like no,
Yeah.
like those people who climb on an effing coal train are the people who stand up and say, I refuse to stand aside and that I will burn.
Yeah, definitely.
And
Yeah.
the way you're expressing that the way you're expressing that in these poems, I think, is actually very powerful.
Yeah.
Give yourself
I
some more
mean,
credit.
yeah, it just
And
helps me.
read the next one if you want.
Helps me just get. It helps me just get all my feelings out, and means that I'm not like screaming at people who don't do much, which is, good. Um, this next one is called Suits, if I can find it. Okay. We come together in collaboration, in chaos, in a storm of teen angst, kids in a classroom still drawing on our hands, letting the pen trace our skin. We are playing dress up. We are wearing suits, old, worn-out suits, because we can't afford new ones. We are playing pretend. We are CEOs and big business folk. We are living at the top of the company, living at the top of our own skyscrapers, living in the clouds. We don't work for capitalism. We work for the people. Us kids have built our own company, made our own connections. We do things you would never think of. We have minds of gold. We have crawled out of burrows. We have learned from time. We see how rapid this change is. We are in rapid swelling down a river, struggling to breathe. We are the ones that pick up the stuff you leave behind, playing with the trinkets and the rubbish that you forgot about. We are the children, listening to whispers from shadows, carried on a breath, on the wind, through the trees that we climb, getting scratched and bruised along the way. We watch the world so intensely so we don't miss anything, innocence still stuck in our minds, still reading picture books plucked from old bookshelves. We are the kids that dream. We are the kids that imagine. We are the kids that will create our own future. Yeah.
That's an interesting one.
Yeah, that one I kind of just wrote because I needed to. We had this project at school that was like trying to stop plastic milk bottles from being in supermarkets, and they wanted us to write poetry about it. And so I kind of just came up with that because I was just kind of not feeling the project. So yeah.
I still think it was decent though.
Yeah, I think.
I preferred the first two.
I mean, I'll read you this.
I still think it's pretty.
I'll read you this last one that I haven't read online before. But it's kind of about the climate chaos, but also just about being in a community that cares about it. And I find that very helpful when you have other people who actually care about the same things you do. So yeah, anyway. When I was a kid, I was scared of the dark. It would twist and curl and curve. My imagination would warp the shadows in my cupboard and under my bed into the most terrifying creatures imaginable, turning on a light each night to keep them away. Now they have morphed and changed and transformed. The monsters under my bed are real and more terrifying than any creatures I could create in my mind. Snarling in the dark is the climate chaos, my future, my hopelessness, my hope. Ready to reach out and grab me are the police. They already have a grasp on the people I love. Fueled by my fear, I still need the light, only now it's my community, my people. The people that are being stretched from limb to limb, trying, always trying, with bumps and bruises, with small wins and big losses, my comrades. Constantly trying, with gusto, with strength, with fires in their bellies, warming everyone they meet. Planning the next big thing, imagining that the shadows can be lit and burnt to the ground. Yeah, so that's the last one I'm going to read you, because all the rest aren't about climate chaos.
Well, you're quite a talented poet.
Thank you.
You probably know
Yeah,
it.
it just helps a lot.
Yeah, I guess I had to write down more ideas when I get them really, because I believe I'm a big believer in the power of words. You know, I believe that an idea can change the world, and you convey ideas with words or poems, which are words. You know, and that means there's a certain combination of words that can change the world.
Yeah, I
For
mean,
quite a long time, I was on the hunt for that combination of words.
yeah. I mean, I was talking to a friend the other day and I was like, you know, poetry is just very helpful because it's like quite quick and says a lot. And, you know, I find it hard to write about, like if I had a diary or something, I'd find it hard to write in that because I like can't keep a thought going. I'm like, next thing, and that just like poetry kind of helps with that because it's you can keep it quite short, and yeah, it's a good little thing that I do.
Okay. So I want to ask about your parents. So what kind of things have they been protesting? Because they must have been, by the sounds of it, they've probably been protesting for a long time.
Yeah, like they were really involved in a lot of protests when they were in their 20s, like the Stop Gulf Wars in Australia, and just like a lot of that kind of thing, a lot of forest logging activism. And yeah, I guess it was like quite hard when they had a family to keep being as involved. But I guess, yeah, my mum just kind of supports me as an individual and supports like what I want to do. It's like your body is your choice kind of thing, like, you know, do you. And yeah, so I guess like her way of helping has been having people stay on bail at her house, and yeah, just like helping how she can, because she has a house, like this is her house, and you know she has the resources to have someone stay and you know, it helps to have a bail address when you get out of the lockup. So yeah.
Yeah, it definitely does.
Yeah.
Can I just get you to check for a second? Is your phone still recording the audio? Because mine stopped for some reason.
Yeah, it's still going.
Right, okay. I don't know when mine stopped. I don't know what happened with that.
Right.
But it's gonna have to be fun editing it together now because I'm gonna be missing a bit of my voice.
It's alright.
Don't worry about it. How?
Yeah.
We're going for about 50 minutes now, so we'll do like another 15 minutes or something if that's okay with you,
yeah.
and then we'll round up.
Cool.
Yeah, so you were saying about your mum. About your mum's been hosting people for Blockade Australia.
Yeah.
Is that what you said?
Yeah. Last year we had 3 people stay on bail at our house. After doing climate action. And yeah, I guess, you know, it's pretty fun to have people stay. I love all of the people that are involved in BA. And yeah, it just was really nice to have them stay when they did. We had Max Kermy stay, and then we had a person named Jonah, and then we had a person named Clancy stay, which was fun. They'd all done.
Well, I'm probably gonna cut them names out of this podcast, to be honest.
Yeah, that's cool.
I'm probably gonna bleep them names out just for their own security.
Yeah.
Just making sure my phone's still recording. So, you know, when you first, so I was asking you a question. I just thought it went blank for a second. Well, I've spoke to a few people in Blockade Australia now, and most people seem to have don't want to do another they've done one arrestable action, and they want to take a break from it. Are there any people who have been going action after action after action, or do they just end up in prison in Australia?
Yeah, I mean, we've had, last year we had these really harsh protest laws put in place that say that if you block a important road, I think it's also rail as well, that you can go up to 2 years in jail and up to a $22,000 fine, which is quite scary.
Wow.
We've definitely had a few people who just keep going and get arrested a lot. We've had a few people stay in jail for most of the time. It's 2 weeks. One guy has spent over 40 days in prison now because he just went to jail again. And yeah, people keep going. Sometimes I think we've had a police force called Strike Force Guard created to stop what we're doing, which is,
wow.
Obviously we're doing something kind of effective if they're trying to shut us down that much. They have their own
yeah.
thing, but yeah, I think a lot of the time they will try and arrest key organizers, people they see helping a lot with Blockade Australia, and yeah, a few of them have been targeted quite intensely and had and it's not just going to jail. A lot of people will get arrested or need to go to court, and their bail conditions will be really strict. One guy was found during the Sydney mobilisation with a marker in his car, a paint marker, at 12 o'clock in the day, and then he got put on bail and had to report every day and had to reside at his address. And the first person who stayed on bail at my house was under house arrest the whole time. So yeah, like it's not just being in prison, it's also just like the really punitive bail conditions as well.
Yeah, bail's been used as a punishment over here as well.
Yeah.
It's the same in the UK.
Yeah, it's just, yeah, it makes it quite scary to take action. And, you know, like I think that's why a lot of people have said they're not going to do it again because, you know, when you do it over and over, it starts, like, you start to get targeted more. And, like, you just get worse and worse bail conditions and go to jail and stuff. And, you know, that's quite a scary thing to do. So, yeah, as you know, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah, bail conditions can be a bitch. It's I'm really wondering, like, how do we win this fight against, like, governments that become more authoritarian?
I think...
Like, isn't it just to overflow them with numbers?
I mean, I think that, I don't know, we've got quite good lawyers that are willing to, like, fight for our cause. But I personally think, like, you know, the more strict... Like, it's quite shit, obviously, because, you know, you don't want to have a really authoritarian government. But, like, I think also that's, in a way, might help in the sense of, like, showing people, like, look at what the government's doing to us. Like, look at these really harsh protest laws. Like, we're supposed to be a democracy. Like, you know, why are we getting jailed and put on bail and stuff? And, yeah, in a way, I think that might, you know, help to, if you just show the world what they're doing to you and hope that, like, you know, people will care enough to help make a change. But yeah.
Oh god, so that's you know, I can't wait to get around all the other people and all the other nations and find out what their governments have been like, because by the sounds of it, the UK and Australia are becoming super authoritarian and throwing non-violent peaceful protesters into prison for costing them money, basically.
Yeah.
Causing a nuisance.
Yeah.
In the UK, just to let you know, we've got our new law is called the Police Crimes and Sentencing Bill, and the maximum sentence of getting public nuisance charges, what we're using now, is 10 years.
Right. That's...
So, like, Morgan and Marcus have just been charged under this new law for climbing up a bridge, basically, a suspension cable bridge. They got 3 years and 2 years and 7 months, and Marcus, you got 2 years 7 months. Actually, originally from Germany, so now they're deporting him back to Germany.
Yeah, they
spend his time in a German prison.
They deported 2 people that took action when we did the Port Botany mobilisation. Two people were from Germany, and they were involved and they took action and they got deported back, which was, you know, just like all of these very harsh things happening to people who are trying to help in a way.
Do you reckon, I wonder if I could get into Australia and do an action, they could just deport me straight away and then I'd get away with it.
I mean, maybe.
Just as long as they don't come back. I don't think I could get in there now because I've already got a criminal record for protesting.
Yeah, it's a hard one. Well, you're welcome to come over if you can. Come and
it would be good.
Have a little stay.
I don't think it's gonna be a good idea now, actually, because I've actually just found out recently I'm gonna be a dad.
Yeah, so congratulations. That's pretty cool.
Probably pretty scary in a climate crisis, all right.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's the thing. I'm like, don't think I'm gonna have kids because, you know, I don't want them to have to deal with the climate chaos as well. But I think that's really, like, hard thing to like do, because you know kids are pretty cool, pretty amazing little things that, you know, they're pretty special, and it's definitely a bit sad to want children but also don't want them to grow up in a unlivable world.
Yeah. Do you not find that like a little bit unfair then? Like that you should, you know, you decided not to have children. Like,
Like,
do you not feel a little bit cheated?
yeah, but also I like acknowledge that like kids don't have to be my children. Like I can definitely have friends who have kids, or like, you know, relatives that have kids, and still be able to like interact with them and care for them without having to, you know, have one of my own. So yeah.
That's true. That's true. Oh my god. I'm just a bit shocked right now that I'm going to be a dad.
Yeah, it's pretty scary.
Mind blown, you know. Very scary, yeah. I'm thinking about like thinking long term. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm starting to think more like a prepper now, a little bit.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that just support them in whatever they want to do, and that will make you a good dad. You know, I think that's just what children need, is a lot of support.
Yeah, that's very true.
Speaking as a teenager, just support support your kids, and they'll turn out pretty good, I reckon.
I'm gonna. It's 1 a.m. now. I'm gonna round up pretty soon. Yeah. Is there anything you'd like to talk about that you feel like you'd like to get shared, you know, on the show? Any causes or projects or charities, or even your social media things if you want?
I just think that find whoever who is listening. I think find your local climate group, and try and get involved as much as you can if you want to, and if you're able to. And also you can be involved without having to take direct action. There's a lot of other roles that you can do. I think if you want to do it, find your local group and change the world however you can.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
cool.
Thank you very much.
That's alright. See ya.
We are the tongue that speaks the truth. We are the song upon the wind. We are the courage to stand forth. We are the change that now begins. On this good green earth, we will take a stand with an open heart and a healing hand. With an open heart and a healing hand.